right, it's 10 o'clock. I'd like to welcome everybody back. And it's my pleasure to introduce the person who will be introducing Kimsky. I would like to welcome Wendelin Rosero Marquez to the microphone. Rosero is the Micronesian Challenge Terrestrial Champion and Senior Grants Officer with the Micronesian Conservation Trust. Resource management and conservation are of the utmost importance to him. He has served for the Micronesian Conservation Trust for more than 10 years, and he was instrumental in, I would say, co-mentoring or helping Kimsky realize his dreams of moving from being a animal husbandry, agricultural person to being more of an ecologist and having a deep concern for the forest environment. So without further ado, Rosio, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Lisa, for the very, very kind words. Kasalelia, aloha, and good morning from the island of Pohnpei in the Federated States of Micronesia. Thank you for being here this morning. My name is, again, Wendelin Roseo Marquez with the Micronesia Conservation Trust. I'm a Senior Grants Officer and the Micronesia Challenge Terrestrial Measures Champion. Today, I am introducing a Master's of Science candidate in the Tropical and Environmental Science program at the University of Hawaiʻi, Hilo. He's an international student who comes from the island of Pohnpei in the Federated States of Micronesia. I met this student virtually 3 years ago via Zoom in a number of internship planning meetings. Understanding that his field of study is just what we need in Micronesia, I extended assistance to him and supported his professional internship program, which he completed phase 1 successfully in Hilo. I acknowledge University of Hawaii Hilo, the U.S. Forest Service, Micronesia Conservation Trust, and his mentors, namely Lisa Canali, for their technical and financial support. During my mentorship of this individual over the years, he has realized the environmental issues ranging from climate change impacts, deforestation, food and water insecurity, unsustainable land use, deforestation, infestation of invasive species in Micronesia, and him, being a concerned citizen, has decided to continue the second phase of his professional internship on his home island of Pohnpei. He will come home to work with the Pohnpei state government for the phase 2 of his internship. The task ahead is for this Micronesian boy who has met and learned from the Polynesian land to come back with his knowledge, skills, and experiences and conduct a terrestrial resource restoration project in his own backyard. Without further ado, I humbly request your full attention and please help me in welcoming Mr. Kimsky Kubo, or Nanpei Letaw Porasap, to speak. Kalangan, mahalo nui, and thank you. Kimsky.
Kalangan ko Roseo for the warm introduction. Okay. You guys can hear me okay, right? Okay. So, aloha mai kako ang kasalelia. Greetings to you all for allowing me to speak in front of you today. It is my pleasure to present you all about my professional internship that was conducted on Mauna Kea. It's an honor to be here today as a graduate student in this one-of-a-kind program called Tropical Conservation Biology and Environmental Science at the University of Hawaiʻi at Hilo. My name is Kimsky Kubo, and I am originally from one of the 4 states in the Federated State of Micronesia called Pohnpei. The title of my talk for today is Micronesian Boy Meets Polynesian Land. I've dedicated 600 hours of my life learning about forest restoration management practices, with the majority of this time on Mauna Kea as an embedded field crew member. For a project called Mauna Kea Forest Restoration. Mauna Kea Forest Restoration Project was initiated in 2006 when funding was obtained to support staff and management efforts into protecting endangered species called Pelila bird and to restore the forest of Mauna Kea. I started working with this project as an intern on January 3rd last year and finished my required 600 hours on July 28 in the same year. During my time with this project, I was privileged to learn from those experts that have been working in the field of conservation for decades. Conducting my internship with this project allowed me to learn 5 management strategies in the conservation and restoration field for the purpose of Pelila bird recovery and the restoration of the forest on Mauna Kea. The 5 management strategies include ungulate control, habitat fencing, invasive plant control, predator control, and planting native trees. All of these were conducted in the Kauai restoration site. So the question I had before starting this internship was, why do we have to restore and take good care of our forest? Ladies and gentlemen, our tropical forests are at risk, which is leading some species to become extinct or endangered due to loss of habitat, and it all comes down to us human beings. We are the major cause of the degradation of the native forest through the introduction of non-native flora and fauna, so we must act before it's too late. As I mentioned before, there's 5 management strategies that we conducted during my time with the project. And again, these include ungulate control, habitat fencing, invasive plant control, predator control, and nursery and planting actions. These 5 management strategies were conducted to benefit the endangered Pelila bird and to help the forest restoration actions on Mauna Kea. Found only on the upper slopes of one of the largest mountains in the world, Mauna Kea, the critically endangered Pelila has a 5-fringed yellow head, a strong bill, and a delightful call. This spectacular bird is an important part of the Hawaiian heritage worth protecting. The Pelila bird is endemic to the island of Hawaiʻi and can't be seen anywhere else. Well, Pelila only occupy an area of less than 5% of their historical distribution on Hawaiʻi Island. This area is on the southwestern slope of Mauna Kea, the area with the best and largest amount of remaining habitat. The potential for extinction is greater for isolated populations that occur in the remaining habitat. A large wildfire or an increase in disease prevalence, for instance, could quickly wipe out this small isolated population of Pelila. To reduce this risk and thus reintroduction methods, an attempt was made to establish another Pelila population near Pu'umali on the northern slope of Mauna Kea. On the upper right corner, we have the historical range of Pelila bird habitat. As you can see and compare the historical range versus the current range, it is obvious that this specific bird is at major risk of becoming extinct. At the bottom right, it showed us the current range of their habitat and how they observed and conducted surveys for Pelila count yearly. Note that every other management strategies that I've mentioned is mainly for the purpose of Pelila bird recovery. So, why do we have to protect the Pelila bird? Why initiate funding to protect this species of bird? They are a classic example of spectacular evolutionary process that occurred in the remoteness of the Hawaiian Islands, where they survived in the dry forest for well over 100,000 years by adapting to a food source, or we call it mamane, in scientific name Sapporo chrysobila. The belila and the mamane tree are the two of the Hawaiʻi's many species found nowhere else. On the other end, the Endangered Species Act is very important because it saves our native fish, plants, and other wildlife from going extinct. Once gone, they're gone forever, and there's no going back, and please remember that. If we want our kids and their grandchildren to have the opportunity to live in a beautiful, diverse environment, then we have to stand up. After centuries of negative impacts from introduced animals, non-native insects, and invasive plants, the high elevation forest on Mauna Kea and its wildlife need our help. With intensive management by partnership with the state and federal government, nonprofits, and volunteers, the forest will be protected for generations to come. The primary linkage between restoring the forest of Mauna Kea and protecting the endangered bird belila is what the project is all about. The question on the bottom said, why should we care about restoring Mauna Kea forest? At first, belila birds and other native endangered species couldn't be protected if the forest of Mauna Kea were not restored. For the endangered species to be protected and for the betterment of the future, managements need to be implemented to help restore the forest of Mauna Kea. The first management strategy is ungulate control. Ungulate control is a crucial part of this ongoing project due that it is the main concern and reason why native species, especially birds, are losing their habitats. Ungulates are known for their habit of grazing and browsing, which leads every space they adopt to be degraded. Ungulates on Mauna Kea include pigs, sheep, cattle, and goats. There are 4 steps in controlling ungulates, which include scoping, trapping, exterminating, and recording. With this strategy, we placed cameras at all of the traps that were made in the Kaua restoration site. After a couple months of having those cameras at these traps, we went back and grabbed the SD cards that contains all captured pictures to scope if there's any ungulates were going in and kind of get an idea of what time of day they've been swinging by at these traps, as can be seen in the far left picture. After that, we set and activate every trap that motivates ungulates and traps them using magnet and corns. But these animals like magnets more as it is more oily and they get scented in the distance. The middle picture showed how they get caught in those traps. Then we exterminated them and recorded the number of pigs into categories of sow, boar, and piglets. During my internship time, we captured 4 boars, 8 sows, and 20 piglets. Part of the recording was using the deed chart to get the age of each catch. With state law, we were not allowed to have these meats, but I am down and will 100% support changing this law. Managing the fence around Mauna Kea is so important to reassure that ungulates stay out of the restoration areas. By far, this was the hardest job I got to go through with this internship. It takes so much power and skills to do this kind of work. I was so excited that I got to learn this kind of skill, learn the tool names and all those steps applied in fencing. A construction of a new 6-foot tall fence was initiated in 2010 to protect belila critical habitat. This was necessary because the original fence built in 1937 had keys to be an effective barrier decades earlier. 24 miles of fence have been completed by March 2013, which now eliminates movement of non-native browsing animals into belila critical habitat from adjacent lands containing the highest densities of such animals. In management conservation and dealing with invasive species, we have eradication control, exclude and include control, which is also known as fencing, and biological control. In this case, we use fencing to make sure that we have what we need in the compound and exclude others that are not needed outside the conservation area. On the right picture, we have myself and my internship supervisor, Mr. John Z. Kala-Ising, the coordinator of the Mauna Kea Forest Restoration Project. One of the major issues on Mauna Kea is the invasive weed. I was so surprised with how much weeds that almost covered the whole mountain. Invasive plants in Palila critical habitat on Mauna Kea include fireweed, also known as Senecio matacoascariensis, fountain grass or Centrus sedaceus, KB ivy, and gorse. This project always got to their best point in treating these weeds, but the limitations of worker number and product is just a constraint in this action. With these chemicals, we always try our best to keep ourselves safe. I've been told to be 100% careful when dealing with these chemicals. So we usually mix into 3 gallons backpacks and spread them while walking. With this, for me personally, I always have my back from where the wind is coming from for my safety. For a 3-gallon backpack sprays, we put 60 milliliter Roundup, 105 milliliter Polaris, 250 milliliter sulfate acid, and 50 milliliter brand. Note that these measurements depend on the volume size of the backpacks. Cats, mongoose, and rats are considered as predators in the conservation unit. These animals are known for the risk of killing birds, which sounds bad to be in an area where a bird conservation project is happening. We made 60 box traps during my time with this project, besides hundreds that were made before. It's so difficult to know where traps should be placed because these animals have been moving around the mountain. So we set up a couple cameras in certain areas to locate where traps should be placed, same as the outlets. There's over 600 traps made and set at certain locations. When I was working, and these traps were checked at least once a month. For your information, the metal traps that we were using is called the Duke number 330 water gripping trap. From the day that I started, we captured 100 cats, 51 mongoose, 26 Urcos Franklin, 11 rats, 3 turkeys, and 3 pigs from the predator control traps. As can be seen in the satellite map, here are the locations or places where we have these traps. Catching game birds like Urcos Franklin and turkeys was not intentional, but they get caught because of processing for food. The last management strategy was nursery work and planting. I found out that mixing fertilizer plays an important role in helping the plant grow well. I just want to mention that I didn't have a chance to do the very first steps in growing or germinating a seed, but I did the transplanting part, and after a couple of weeks, we planted them in the ground. Transplanting is a way to make sure that the plant have complete nutrition that will add health to the plant, get rid of waterlog, disease, and more space for the growth of the plants. I found out that a simple step could turn the plant into a different direction. There were two plant species that I had a chance to transplant, and these were Sabora chrysopila or mamane, which is under Myrtaceae family, and Acacia koa, also known as koa, which falls under Fabaceae family plants. Another question I asked myself while working was, why conducting these management strategies? The goal of the project is to facilitate management that benefits Palila at Pu'umali and Kau restoration areas and on other lands in Palila critical habitat. Following that mission, there's a belief and hope that high up on the slope of one of the tallest mountains in the world is a distinct forest that occurs nowhere else on Earth and is home to spectacular native one day. This is the overall of the sites of the Mauna Kea Forest Restoration Project. The red line indicates the main road, or we called it Saro. And you can see the Mauna Kea State Park if you're familiar or have been on Saro Road already. There's 2 green locations, and those are the restoration sites on Mauna Kea, which includes Kauai and Pu'umale Restoration Area. The yellow part indicated the core area for Palilang. By looking at this great map illustrating the project site, we can see how much work has been done and how much more to do. My role was I had the opportunity to work as an embedded field crew member. This allowed me to gain so many skills, knowledge, and experience in the conservation field, specifically in the forest restoration and protecting endangered species. These are just random photos of me working in the field with the crew. There were 2 challenges that I was dealing with during my time of study. One was the main challenge, and one was a major one. It was my very first ever professional internship, so I struggled to learn, but I found a way to tackle and challenge as I trusted myself the whole time that I'll make it happen. I was super tired and sickened from dealing with the weather, as it can be rainy sometimes and it can be super hot other times. I had to adjust my schedule and get out of my comfort zone during my time of internship. The major problem I was having and dealing with was my bad sprained ankle. I sprained my ankle 1 week before starting to work full-time for my internship. That led me to take off 2 weeks and start working right after those weeks. I had to fight with the pain because I had no more time to wait. This internship or work experience benefits me in so many ways. Benefits that not only help me learn how to perform better as a conservationist, but also help me avoid personal problems in future workplaces. I learned from mistakes that won't damage my career and help me see what I need to do to get jobs and climb the career ladder. The outcome of my internship came out into 2 sides. Personally, for me, the internship allowed me to increase my knowledge, gave me an opportunity to learn new skills, and gave me a chance to gain experience in the conservation field. As for the Mauna Kea Forest Restoration Project, I believe that the agency reached their yearly expectations, and I hope that my work with them would allow other TCBES members to have the opportunity to do their internship with them. Please allow me to compare this project to my homeland this time. Some of you guys may say, where is Pohnpei? So Pohnpei is located in the North Pacific Ocean, as can be seen in the Google map on the right side of the slide. You can see the red mark is where Pohnpei is, as the blue circle mark is where I'm at right now, which is Hilo, over here. Just by looking at this, you can kind of get an idea on how small my homeland is. The green bar at the north side of the island is where the left picture stays, over here. And this place in the left picture is one of the sacred places we have back home, and we call it Soke's Rock. So Bombay is famous for its energetic dance and also the relaxing drinking kava. A relaxing drinking sakau. A kava-like brew drink used in ceremonies and also sold in bars. Watching sakau being prepared is an experience unique to Bombay. The Bombay issue right now is deforestation for planting kava or sakau, which is also known as money crop. Simply, we can see the difference between old age era use for kava versus the uses of kavas nowadays in Bombay. Yesterday, this crop was mainly used for traditional activities. As for today, it was discovered as a source of income. So please take a look at this slide carefully. Let me share my thoughts on this slide with you guys. On the left is the view of Mauna Kea Forest, a forest that was degraded by introduced species as they believed that introducing the ungulates and other species for business could boost their economy to an upper level. The old forest was down and now you can see conservation is happening and people could finally see life again on the mountain. On the other end is my homeland, where you see deforestation happening in a well-developed forest. What's the main cause of deforestation? To plant a monocrop, which is kava, for family living. Kava used to be only for cultural and traditional activities. Then boom, here comes the partisanship. Micronesians are now depending on money for most of their lives. I think it is obvious to figure out or say that scarcity of economic resources is a major impact on conservation work. I think the biggest problem in Bombay, not just in Bombay, but Micronesia too, is that, if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong, almost all of the spaces around the forest are privately owned by native or indigenous people. So that's the thing. We don't have the right to stop them from deforesting to make money in their areas. I believe the most we can do is to raise awareness and make them see an image of the future if we're not going to maintain and sustain our islands. So my last question is, why should we care about our forest? Well, I think Prince Charles answered this question for us. He said once, and I quote, "Forests are the world's air conditioning system, the lungs of the planet, and we are on the verge of switching it off." To conclude, it's been over 4 years I haven't stepped on the ground where I belong, the ground that allowed me to do my first step. I miss my homeland, especially my loved ones. Words cannot express my love and respect to this land, especially the people. It's been a great journey, and now I think it's time for me to start packing and return to where I belong. I'm just happy to announce that I got work lined up already for me in Bombay, and I'll be assisting an ongoing job called Urban and Community Forestry Program, hopefully starting next month. My appreciation shout out to the Tropical Conservation Biology and Environmental Science Program for choosing me to be part of this program for 2 years. To the University of Hawaiʻi in Hilo, you taught me for 4 years and shaped me into a better version of myself. I am super thankful for that. Special thanks to the Mauna Kea Forestation Project for allowing me to learn and work with you guys. I acknowledge the U.S. Forest Service and Micronesia Conservation Trust for assisting me with not just funding, but for those advices too. So where can I start? My biggest thanks goes to my little family for holding it down for over 4 years of me struggling in my career. Extend my gratitude to my mom, dad, and siblings for making me a better person today. To Rosario, Kala, and Eugene, I appreciate you guys for allowing me to learn from you guys. To Tam, Katie, and Amanda, big thanks to you guys for supporting me in the first place. I would like to recognize Norman and Jim for being on my side during my undergraduate time till now. I am thankful for you guys. A special shout out to Marcy Martinez and all of my coworkers for accepting me no matter what. To my classmates and cohorts, I hope our paths cross again someday. Last but not the least, I put this person last for a reason. Please put your spotlights on this very special person right now, Dr. Lisa Canale. I am super grateful and thankful to have you as my graduate school advisor. I wish nothing but the best for you, Dr. Canale. Mahalo and kalangan for listening. I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kimsky, for your fantastic presentation and for the personal shout out. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have you as part of the TCBES program and to see your journey. All right, so I'd love to open this up for questions. If you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask it. And if we have a lineup, please use the raise your hand icon. Who would like to be first? Okay, it looks like we have some shy people. So I am going to ask a question that Aloha submitted, and that is, if you could give advice to a young incoming Pacific Islander pursuing the same program, what would you share with them?
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Aloha, for that question. So for me personally, I would like to advise them to be themselves. As a Micronesian, not just Islander from Pacific, but Micronesian, pursuing my career, I found out that one thing that constrained us from reaching our goal is financial support. So my advice for any Micronesians out there, there is funding. You just gotta reach out, just gotta say something. There's people out there that guarantee they're gonna help you out. And my advice is to be your guys up, to be you, always be you. Don't doubt yourself. There's a lot of good people out there that you're gonna meet on your way. So yeah.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Kimsky, great job. That was so fun to see your journey all wrapped up in your presentation. I would love to hear more about the job that you got. Congratulations on that. And if you know what you're going to be doing, I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you've got lined up for the rest of the year.
Hey, Jess. Thank you, Jess. So to be honest, right now, I haven't get into details about the work duties and all of those that I will be doing when I get on board to that project. But yeah, all I know right now is that I'll be assisting that project, an ongoing project, and I haven't get into details about what are the responsibilities and duties that I'll be doing.
Katie, do you have a question?
Well, no, but I can shed a little bit of light on that. It is in forest restoration, and I think your boss might have sent you a really brief summary. It's true that you don't have the details, but making plans for restoring some of those degraded forests, such as Kimsky showed in his picture. Our goal at the U.S. Forest Service is to enhance the current and future staff of our grantees. And so in the case of Pohnpei State, we offer training to the people who are already on staff at the Pohnpei Forestry Program, but we also sponsored the internship at UH and now this upcoming contract that Kimsky will have just to set him up, and then he can decide whether to stick with Pohnpei Forestry or move on to other things. But I look forward to a lot of questions during those 6 months. Kimsky, feel free to reach out to us, and good luck making the transition.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, I just want to give you, Katie, a shout out for being so instrumental in making this internship happen for Kimsky and enabling him to do that jump from the ag side to the ecology side of conservation work. So thank you.
Well, and I share that shout out with Roseo and Tamara from the Micronesia Conservation Trust, and Amanda Uolo. I'm not sure if she's on, but she did the original introductions, and Miranda Hutton, who is the program manager actually funding the internship in Pohnpei.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, I think we have time for one more question. And I think I will ask it. And oh, Lisa Mason's up. Okay, Lisa, take it away.
Aloha, Kimsky. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
Great job, Kimsky. I loved your presentation. I'm also a fan of Palila, and I was just wondering if you have any personal stories to share about being in the forest of Mauna Kea, of being around Palila, or things that you've observed that are kind of unique and just taught you about them in your time in the forest that you want to share.
Thank you, Lisa. So yeah, I would say that I was super fortunate to be one of the person working on Mauna Kea last summer. It's an opportunity for me to not just learn about some ethics and conservation and all of those, but just by working on that sacred place, Mauna Kea, it's just a pleasure for me. As a Micronesian residing over here, it's just a pleasure for me to sweat on Mauna Kea to make something life for the future. So it's an honor to be working on Mauna Kea. Yeah, I was just blessed to have the opportunity to work there. Mauna Kea is one of the special places over here, and I was super blessed to be part of that place.